kind of... You guys seeing that? Hi. Good to see you again. If you're new here, my name is Jane B. It is so nice to meet you. I make videos mostly about Ace Attorney, but about whatever brings me joy, honestly. Today, we're going to be talking about, you've heard the big news, you all know it, Apollo Justice Trilogy is getting remastered. Yes! So, I am personally excited. You're probably excited too. They're adding new features. They're adding story mode, which is kind of fire, where you don't have to press the button, click through the slides. You can just watch it and not participate in it, which is excellent. It's gonna be great. And today, we're gonna talk Apollo Justice again. I talked about whether I think Athena Sykes has autism in my last video. I encourage you to check it out. Give me your thoughts on it, maybe. And today we're gonna be talking about the Apollo Justice Trilogy. This is hype for me. I'm excited. So, if it's been a while since you've played the Apollo Justice Trilogy, like it has been for me, it's been a while since I played Apollo Justice, a little bit of a refresher. Apollo Justice takes place in 2026, which is about 10 years after the trilogy takes place. Phoenix Wright is unemployed in the first game, which is obviously a subject of much controversy, but it's a whole debacle about Phoenix getting his badge back, whether the law system is fair. By Spirit of Justice, we're getting into law systems in other countries, kind of investigation style, and I think that, honestly, I think the Apollo Justice Trilogy is quite good. I don't like it quite as much as the original trilogy. I had to say it, but I really enjoyed the games. So today I'm gonna get into some of the pros and cons, the ups and downs of the Apollo Justice Trilogy, and I'm gonna give you my opinion on why I think it came out alright in the end, even though there were some rough spots. So, the first game in the Apollo Justice Trilogy, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, is my favorite in this trilogy. It's one of my favorites overall. It might be in my top 3 favorite Ace Attorney games. I haven't played Chronicles, so it could still get dethroned. But I really like this game, and I think that what works so well about it is it brings 2 elements that, and this is what the later 2 games kind of fall down on, it brings 2 elements that the original trilogy is so good at, is that it brings like an energy and like a flavor and a funness, a style, and it brings cohesiveness. So obviously in classic Ace Attorney fashion, you've got to have one case where you learn the ropes, one case where something extremely stupid happens, and then 2 or 3 cases where you actually like resolve the plot of what's going on, and like the deeper issues that have been running as an undercurrent of the previous cases kind of come to a head, and you take down the big bad, or the big bad says, "I swear I'll be back." Occasionally with a little bit of flashbackiness happening. A number of Ace Attorney games have flashbacks, and Apollo Justice follows this outline pretty well. So obviously the main villain, Christoph Gavin, is set up from the beginning in 2 ways. The first being Phoenix's unemployment, and the second being Clavier's angstiness, I guess you'd call it. So Clavier is obviously having his quarter-life crisis, or whatever you call it, where you finally get out of the nest and you realize the flaws of the system you were raised in, or whatever. He's having his teen angst a little bit. Phoenix is having his also quarter-life crisis, but for a very different reason. So I think that Christoph was foreshadowed quite well through having him be Clavier's brother, and then all this stuff with like the presenting of fake evidence and the Phoenix being unemployed and not knowing who to trust, who not to trust. I think it all kind of builds and it crescendos into the ending, and I think that putting him in jail and then him being behind another crime is kind of brilliant, because you sort of run out of tricks you can do for a video game villain. Like, you can't, it's really hard to have a twist villain these days because everything's been done. You can't follow the classic formula because people will see it coming. You can't subvert the formula because people will still see it coming. So I feel like it was a really nice blend of well foreshadowed and unexpected, and I think that he is just such a fascinating character. I love Kristoff, and he's spooky and creepy, and I think he's so cool. I wrote a novel about Clavier and Kristoff and Darien. If you want it, I can put it on Wattpad. It's called 13 Years Hard Time for Love, like the Gaviniers song. So it's like, ooh, it's about teenage Clavier and stuff. So that's kind of cute. But, Kristoff is a great character. And then, speaking of great characters, Apollo Justice is packed wall to wall with personalities. Whether you like all of them, probably not the case, but everybody's got a personality. We've got Trucy, Apollo, the Grammarys, we've got Kristoff and Clavier, Phoenix, all the weird witnesses like Spark Brushel, and the guy who has academic interest in panties, and we've got Lemire, and we've got Valen, and we've got, is her name pronounced Lemire? Olga Orly, and the Katakis, and the Mishams. Like, everybody's got a big personality, and that is part of the charm of Ace Attorney, is that no matter where you look, there's stuff to see. And I personally love that. As a writer of fan content, it's just rich with content and ideas and feelings to be had galore. I love Clavier and Darien's dynamic. I'm fascinated by the Grammarys. I love Kristoff and Clavier too. And like, even Apollo, of all the 3 Apollo Justice games, Apollo has the most personality here. And I honestly, Phoenix being unemployed is very controversial, and I think part of it is because it feels unexpected. But they kind of make it work. It feels like Ace Attorney, but it also kind of rings in a new era, and I think it's beautiful. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Apollo Justice, and I think of the trilogy wins and losses, I think this one's a W. Then next is Dual Destinies, which has grown on me. Shut up, dude. Okay, it's fine. So obviously, Dual Destinies is the first of the mainline games to not be written by Shu Takumi, which it feels different. Both Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice bring a different energy. And the difference, one of my friends articulated it really well. I think they're repeating back maybe something they've read somewhere. The difference is that in the first 4 mainline games, you're solving personal problems. Like, it's about the law, but what you're really solving at the end of the day is like heartbreak and love and mystery and sadness and betrayal and all these personal feelings, and it's really cool. And Spirit of Justice, Dual Destinies, the investigations games kind of bring more of a we must fix the law energy. And I don't know, like, I'm not as big of a we must fix the law guy. I don't like it as much, but I think that what Dual Destinies does a great job of is very similar to what Apollo Justice does, and both Dual Destinies and Apollo Justice do this better than the trilogy. They're fun. They're really fun. Like, the trilogy has so much sadness and beauty and pain, and I love it so much. But like Apollo Justice and Dual Destinies are just, you're just having a good time. They're very enjoyable to play. Again, with the kooky characters, they did it again, guys. You thought they couldn't did it again, they did it again. Obviously, we've got the weird ones. Don't talk to me about the weird ones. But there are also a lot of really good characters. You've got the Tenmas. You've got just everyone from Turnabout Academy. Whether you like them or not, boy, do they have personality. You've got the people from the space station. You've got Aura. You've got Yuri Cosmos. And then, like, I haven't even talked about Black Quill. Like, it's cool. It's fun. Black Quill in Dual Destinies is probably the best prosecutor moment of the whole series. Like, and that's with, like, the Edgeworth in the original trilogy. Like, Black Quill is just so cool. Like, it's awesome. I love it so much. And I think that the place where Dual Destinies really starts to hit a wall is when they try and start introducing backstories for Apollo. Now, mind you, the backstory from the first game, from Apollo Justice, is not resolved yet, which I won't fault them for it yet, because the trilogy is not over. Spoiler alert, they don't resolve it in the trilogy, but they are like, okay, instead of resolving the first backstory that we introduced, where Apollo has a sister and no one's told him, we are going to add a second one. And it's my same complaint with Phoenix being unemployed. It feels unexpected, especially because they had the chance to set up Clay and Apollo earlier in the game, and they set it up in like the 15 seconds before it happens. Like, in like the cutscene, but before Turnabout Blast Off or whatever it's freaking called, Apollo says, "I can't wait to tell my best friend about this." And he has never mentioned him before, not even earlier in the game. Like, if you need to retcon somebody in, okay, I get it, but at least mention him earlier in the game. And then he dies and Apollo has to be sad about it. And it feels forced, which, like, I get it. You had to make something sad happen. I understand. But from the beginning of that game, again, different writers, but Apollo feels different, and I don't like him as much. I'm not a huge Athena person. She has grown on me since Spirit of Justice. I would hate on Athena all day while we were playing Dual Destinies. But yeah, I feel like Apollo is not... He had sort of like a youthful innocence about him that was really fun in Apollo Justice, and he has less of that here, and I miss it. But, you know, take what you can get. For the sad plot they gave us, oh man, did they give us sadness. I guess it's a fair trade. Like, if you want to have a game with a more serious tone, and you want to have, you know, Apollo be sad and everyone be sad, okay, whatever. I do that all the time, you know. I take someone's personality and I twist it a little bit for my own ends, so I guess we can forgive that. But the one thing that I can't get over is how weird the Phantom feels. Like, I loved Bobby as a character. He was so fun and sweet and earnest. Like, he was up there to be among my favorite characters. And then he was not Bobby at all. And I think I've said this somewhere before, but I can't remember where. If I remembered, I would put it in the card. It feels like they went back and retrospectively changed the plot, because Bobby has... Oh, I remember where it was. It was in my Mega AU video. Watch my Mega A video. I fixed the Ace Attorney canon. Anyway, it feels like they planned for Bobby to die in between Turnabout Academy and Turnabout... Is it Blast Off? I'm gonna check. Cosmic Turnabout, that's what it's called. It feels like they meant for him to die sometime in between Turnabout Academy and Cosmic Turnabout, because his personality changes and he acts different and he acts weird. However, they then say that he's been dead forever, and that makes me so sad. Like, Bobby and Simon is so cute and funny, and I'm so sad that they took that away from us, and it breaks my heart even more for Simon. Like, okay, it does, I admit it, it makes the game way sadder. That's fair. But they tricked me, and I didn't like that. So in a perfect world, I feel like there should have been more foreshadowing of that, or even just like talk of impersonation so you're in the right mindset for it. Otherwise, you're just like when the climax comes, and it's hard to mentally process it. But all in all, again, somehow it's a good game. Despite its flaws, comes out a W. Now, Spirit of Justice. Before I get into the actual plot of Spirit of Justice, do allow me to discuss what I was talking about before. No one told Apollo that he and Trucy are related, and it doesn't happen in this game, and it doesn't happen in the trilogy, and it should have happened. It's getting weird, okay? At one point, Dirk jokes about Apollo and Trucy getting married. Someone say something. Say something. I know, okay, it's on The Last of Us / Lemire to say something to them. Phoenix, someone step in. Talk to her. Talk to the kids. I don't care what you do. They need to know. This is the situation is dire. This is not funny anymore. The trilogy is over and no one has told them. You're being mean at this point. Tell them. So I guess they're saving it for Ace Attorney 7? Make it make sense. Anyway, let me get into the actual plot. So, they did the thing, and they gave Apollo another backstory, which obviously, they do put all their cards on the table fairly quickly. Like, you meet Dats, and then he takes you into his hideout, I guess, and he spills the tea. So, like, pretty quickly into the game, sooner than mysteries are often revealed in most games, you are filled in on the situation that Apollo has a third backstory, which, oh my gosh, stop! Finish the other one first! But, you know, if it affords us good gameplay, I guess. So far, Spirit of Justice has been my least favorite of the 3 AJ trilogy games. That isn't to say I didn't like it. I had a pretty fun time. Uendo, one of my favorite characters. I have learned a lot about dissociative identity disorder. It's not called multiple personality disorder. That name is outdated. They changed it in like the 90s. Ace Attorney, what are you doing? Stop. Anyway, it's so-so for me. It has definitely some absolutely brilliant moments. Like, Inga killing but not realizing he killed Dirk, and Dirk being like, a dragon never dies, or whatever he says. That was cool. That was so cool. I like Neuda quite a bit. I have a super cursed ship for Neuda. Maybe I will get into that if I make a video about my weird Ace Attorney ships. A lot of people don't like Neuda because he's kind of bland, but I think he's pretty fun. He makes me laugh. He has quite a number of lines where he says just such out-of-pocket stuff, and we love that for him. I may be more partial to him than most people because he was accepted into our Mega AU before I had met him in game. That might have swayed me a little bit, I will admit it. I'm kind of on the fence about whether I like Dirk and Dats and all them. I like Garon and Inga. I think they have a pretty funny vibe. Dirk and Dats, it depends on the day for me. I do feel like Dirk is a little bit like, again, we're in sort of Apollo kind of got screwed. We're in sort of a Thalassa situation again, where, like, just say something. Like, if you're not gonna visit him, I get it, but send him a letter. You're ruining his life. Do something. But I feel like the biggest flaw in Spirit of Justice is that the last case feels unfinished. Like, it feels like they meant to write more and they, like, forgot. Like, have you ever been writing, like, an essay or something, and, like, you leave out a paragraph, and you finish it, and you turn it in, and you reread it, and you go, oh, frick, the third paragraph! That's what it feels like they did. Like, it feels like the final case was meant to have a second half, and it didn't. A lot of the stuff, like, it's almost to the point of nonsensicalness. Like, they set up stuff to happen that didn't happen. Like, stuff I was expecting. I'm like, I can't wait for them to resolve this. This is going to be so cool, the way they always do at the end of every Ace Attorney case, where someone gets up there and monologues and explains everything to you. I can't wait for this. And it just didn't happen. Like, the thing with the Founder's Orb, I still feel confused about what the friggin' point of the Founder's Orb was and why everyone was stealing it back and forth. And, like, the stuff with the channeling, and, like, people, like, switching in and out of bodies and going into the room with the coffin and going in the coffin and getting out of the coffin, la 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 la. There's issues with that they set up answers to that they didn't talk about. Like, okay, questions that I have. Who put Dirk's body in the coffin? Because it was in the coffin, right? Who put it in there? Did Dirk put it in there? Or someone else? Did Inga put it in there? But answer me, Capcom. Second question. Amara, or Nana, as she's sometimes called, channels Inga. We know this. Rafa sees her/him from behind running into the tomb. However, her hair is purple. Her hair is not black. No one discusses this. And there is black hair dye of Labelle brand, which he doesn't sell. How did Inga get Labelle hair dye? Not important. There was Labelle brand hair dye sitting on the table. You can examine the hair dye, and you don't add it to your inventory. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about the fact that her hair was purple. Why was that not a point that someone talked about in court? Someone, like, the prosecution could have made a really excellent argument there. I mean, I know there was hair dye. It feels like they meant to put that in there and they didn't do it. Why? So, I know I cannot comprehend, but there are some there are some quirky characters in this game. I will admit it. We get a Balloon Boobs Gairu, okay, whatever. We get Army, who I love. Lots of fun characters in this game, but I feel like, okay, this is where the Apollo Justice trilogy really starts to break down. Like, you did not need the third backstory. I'm not partial to Khura'in, although they are always inventing new countries and things, so do what you need to do. It feels unfinished, and it feels out of place. it doesn't feel foreshadowed at all. Like, this is like what happened with the Phoenix thing, but extreme version. And it's weird. It's really weird. It doesn't bring the same energy as the first two games in the trilogy. It's just not as good, in my opinion. I don't enjoy it as much. It's less fun, and I was less sad. So what does it have going for it? And I feel like they have done the only possible redeeming thing they could have done for these three games to improve some of the situations by naming it the Apollo Justice Trilogy. Because originally, when it's called Spirit of Justice, you're like, ooh, it's gonna be about Neuda, and then Apollo has another backstory, and you're like, another one? But if it's called the Apollo Justice Trilogy, you're expecting it to be about Apollo. And I think that kind of fixes some of the problems. Not all of the problems, but some of the problems. And you have to commend them for that. It makes what happened feel more intentional. So, you know, if you're gonna have weird stuff happen, at least if it feels like it's foreshadowed somewhat, then like you're mentally prepared for it and it feels more emotionally fulfilling when it happens. So definitely there is more work to be done in fixing some of the rifts in the canon. Some of that is to be done by us as fan fiction writers to make this stuff feel more cohesive and to accept it into our arsenal and to give it all the love it deserves. Some of it is to be done by the writer's of Ace Attorney to tell Apollo that he has a sister. That seems important. I forgot to mention this in the section about Apollo Justice. Orange Clavier. Dude! Orange Clavier! Are they gonna bring him back or are they gonna change him? I can't wait to find out. I love Orange Clavier and I would love to see him remastered. Also, Valent in drag. Are they gonna make him look more like Valent or more like Thalassa? We'll see in January, I guess. It's exciting. This is a hype. So if you liked this video, you can watch my Mega AU video, and you can also watch my video about whether Athena has autism. I break it down piece by piece. We look at the friggin' diagnostic manual, and I also just say my thoughts. If you like this kind of video, leave me a like. I'll try and make more like it. If there's a topic you want me to talk about, let me know. I'll see if I can do it. My bulletin board, it's bare. Suggestions welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you like this type of video, I also make basically every other thing under the sun. I make animatic cosplay. I'm the writer and producer for Ace Attorney Dungeons & Dragons. I make a lot of memes. Subscribe to my channel. You will get all that and more. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again probably soon. Hopefully. It's been so fun hanging out with you, and I can't wait for all of us to enjoy the Apollo Justice Trilogy together. Bye!